Alright, let's see if this works. Let's go. Alright, here we go. Alright everyone, welcome to the channel or welcome back. Either way, it's great to have you here. So for today's video, you see it right here. It is the Kawhi Jolly Ranchers. I'm super excited for this. I always wanted the Kawhi signature shoe. I know a couple of us have been waiting. Of course, no hard feelings for leaving Toronto. But you know, at the end, I think he regrets it. But that's for another day, another discussion. Today, we're actually going to talk about the sneaker themselves and kind of break down what actually goes into the sneaker. And it's pretty random, but honestly, kind of cool collaboration between Kawhi Leonard, New Balance, and Jolly Ranchers. Yes, Jolly Ranchers, the candy. Alright, so first thing first, let's talk about the box itself. Pretty good start. You have the New Balance logo, but you have the Kawhi signature on top of that. That's really cool. It's honestly like people say it's like a matte white. It's kind of just like regular white, but there's a lot of cool details that people may have missed out. So for the first thing, it says over here, game speaks for itself. That's very much Kawhi, you know, pretty reserved on the court, off the court, but you know, he lets his game speak, you know, and he's about the actual results over what he says. You might not be able to see this fully and clearly on the video, however, you will be able to see this at the link in the description on the C.H.I.P lifestyle blog post, because there will be more detailed pictures. So make sure you do check that out in the link in the description. However, what I want to mention is actually where it says the quote game speaks for itself, and actually kind of throughout the whole box on the lower end, it actually has this cool little pattern, and it's kind of like a connected, almost like a cyber DNA kind of thing. You know, maybe it's a cyborg kind of thing, but actually I do know what it is, and it's actually kind of teasing what's inside the sneaker. So that's another really cool touch on whoever, you know, finalized the packaging in the box for this sneaker. So enough about talking about the box, let's see what's inside. So when we open it, you see over here it says New Balance Kawhi signature. So this is really cool. I think New Balance, they just kind of like calling the Kawhi signature. So that's why I was kind of confused. Is it Kawhi 1, Kawhi signature 1? But for now, it's just a Kawhi signature. And you have that as well on the packaging tissue paper as well. So that's really cool. I do like that. So once again, you do see here like the design that is on the box itself. So this is actually a very big part of the sneaker, and we'll get into why just in a moment. But let's just see this. So far, you know, New Balance, Kawhi, they're killing it with the unboxing component of this. So let's get into the actual sneakers. So here we go. These are really eye-catching to say the least. This is just one of the sneakers, and these are really dope. And I'm just gonna put it over here. And then here we go. Here's the other one. So there's a lot of stuff going on, not just the colors, but you know, in terms of the materials, the design, and the specs, like there's a lot of cool tech that's involved in this particular sneaker. So we'll definitely get into that in just a moment. But yeah, like this is really interesting. These are the New Balance Kawhi signature sneakers in collaboration with Jolly Ranchers. So these are really dope, and these are one of two different colorways in this collaboration for the Kawhi signature. There was a 327 that was released, there was a slides that was released as well, and some other stuff as well. So for me, this really gravitated towards myself, and I was actually kind of debating between this colorway and the blue raspberry colorway. So that one's predominantly blue. I was actually kind of thinking about going with that because I do have a lot of white and multicolored shoes. However, you know, I think these are really dope, and I think I kind of lucked out as well, and we'll definitely get into more details about that. And I think we need to really talk about, you know, the different components in here. So the person who designed this sneaker is Jonathan Groden. He is the design director of basketball for New Balance. So he designed these, and he actually designed the Omnis, which is like what everyone kind of assumed to be Kawhi's first signature shoe, but really it's like the first basketball shoe that New Balance has put out in a very long time, and that's what they had ready for Kawhi at the time. So just to clarify that. However, the reason why I bring up his name is because he actually talked to this popular YouTuber Seth Fowler about like how the design process was and how really collaborative Kawhi was, how much input he did have. So that was really interesting. And for you, like if you're not too sure on why Jolly Rancher, because it is pretty random, it's said to be Kawhi's favorite candy, and I think that's really cool because you don't really see this often. And I like Jolly Ranchers. I'm not more of the hard candy. I do like kind of like the sour soft chews, but nonetheless it's really cool that they're actually doing this together. And what I really liked about this as well is kind of like the aesthetic component. Yeah, like there's cool like different colors, you know, representing the different flavors of Jolly Rancher, but you know, I kind of like the fact that it's different, and like there's so many different Easter eggs and details that go into this sneaker. So like let's just talk about the tongue itself. When you look at the tongue, it says Kawhi Leonard. Yeah, it says, you see the Jolly Ranchers, the famous characters, but you do see Kawhi Leonard name, and it's like all like the stone face, kind of how Kawhi is, very reserved, and there's just so much cool things that are going on for this particular sneaker. So the design director mentioned that for this particular sneaker for Kawhi, because it's his first signature sneaker, he really did want to incorporate a mixture of classic materials that are on basketball sneakers and the new materials that are on basketball sneakers, and kind of merge them together. So that's why if you actually take a look, you do see the leather, you do see the mesh, and you also see the TPU on the heel counter. So that's really interesting. However, there's just like a different component when it comes to Kawhi, because he is a different type of player. He's very unique, and they wanted something that kind of has something that really can cater towards him being that small forward shooting guard. And interesting fact, this sneaker, like, so any Kawhi sneakers that you are getting for retail, that is actually what he plays in. There's no difference between the PEs that he has and the ones that we, the consumers, are getting. So that's really interesting, because that's rarely, I actually never heard of that, to be honest with you, of a company doing that. Because usually like for Nike, they have to have something like extra padding or extra something for like Zion, right? But then for New Balance and Kawhi, they actually have whatever he's wearing, we're getting, so we can wear as well. So that's really cool. Another thing that New Balance is kind of killing with these Kawhis. And I really want to talk about kind of the design inside, because I think this is probably the most innovative basketball sneaker I do have in my collection. Because one of the most you know, so one of the details that you probably kind of notice is just kind of on this mid quarter panel, you kind of notice like the waves, and you know, this kind of looks like, to me, like a brain, kind of looks like a you know, circuit kind of thing too. So I can't help but think that's some kind of like cyborg thing, right, with Kawhi and how he is. But what this is actually a very innovative technology from New Balance, and this is actually placed here not for aesthetic purposes. It is actually for function. This is actually computer generated, so there's no actual like sketches or anything like that. This is generated from a computer, because what this does is actually it allows the fabric to be stretched out on ways to actually perform it better. So essentially, and even when you look at inside the sneakers, there's some cool patterns, and there's also a support to this design on the outside as well. And this is actually to keep the foot locked down without kind of making it super snug. So I think that's super interesting, because I've never heard of that before, and the fact that they're actually releasing this with this signature, I think that just really helps New Balance's legacy in terms of basketball, and of course Kawhi Leonard as well. And I think that's really interesting, because you see the mesh on top, you see this, and then you see the TPU on the heel counter with this like big New Balance 3D sticking out. That's super interesting. And of course for comfort, so it's not actually just, you know, strictly about the performance and kind of like that. You need to make sure it's somewhat comfortable. You actually have on the midsole, you'll see here, the Feel Set technology. That's really like the proprietary foam technology for New Balance. So that's pretty much standard for the New Balance sneakers. So that's cool, that's interesting. And what I wanted to mention as well, like you see this like kind of like lime translucent green, and I've noticed that with Jolly Rancher candies, so that's a nice touch. So let's take a look at the outsole here, because this is actually the same thing that you see on the sides, and of course that design pattern. However, this is called the Reaction Fusion. So once again, this is designed not for aesthetics but actually for functionality. And what this does is that it's actually designed in a way that is actually beneficial for you and of course Kawhi to perform better on the basketball court. So it gives enough traction, gives another movement for cutting, stopping, and that's really interesting because, like, on first glance, if no one has ever kind of disclosed that, I would just think it's kind of like a cool aesthetic thing. But this is actually the technology that's computer generated, the Reaction Fusion. So that's really cool, and this is going to be a big thing, I think, for Kawhi. And if this kind of becomes like maybe this new signature thing, and maybe something that other companies, sneaker brands, of course, are going to incorporate in the future. But I don't know. For now, that's what it is. And of course, it's translucent here, so it's actually like the lime green thing. Actually kind of stops on the midsole, and the reason is because Kawhi really does like this icy outsole. That's kind of his favorite. But then let's actually look at the plate itself. This is really interesting because although it's translucent, you can see it, you can feel it a bit as well. So it's kind of like a rubber. I think it is foam, but it does feel like almost like a plastic as well, and it's actually this cool plate that they have. So this is actually on the lower end for support, and then of course you have on the blue forefoot, this is for the bounce spring feeling. So that's really interesting. So usually it's the plastic over here, and then kind of like a foam different material over here. But on this sneaker, like just kind of just feeling it out, it does seem like it's both plastic, but nonetheless it's a really cool construction. And I think with the fuel cell, that's really dope. And then of course, you know, the Reaction Fusion technology, it's such an innovative sneaker, and I think that's kind of cool because I'm geeking out right now because we don't actually get to see that for a lot of retail sneakers, right? And a lot of basketball performance sneakers. And even if it is not just for like kind of like the court, I think this is a cool lifestyle sneaker as well, which is why I got it. But let's talk about the aesthetics and the kind of Easter eggs that maybe you might have missed. So of course we talked about the colors. They're obviously kind of representing the different colors and flavors of Jolly Rancher that we all maybe like, but nonetheless this is really interesting. You have Kawhi's number 2. I am curious, let me know what you think. Who is the best player to ever wear that number? Is it Kawhi? For me, I would say so, but you know, that's just my opinion. I'm curious to know what you guys think in the comments below. But when you move up from that toe area, you actually do get to see over here, and once again this will be unlaced for the photos, but over here it actually lists out his achievements, which is always a nice touch. Like, I love it when the brands do that for the players, because it just makes it that much more special. And as you can see here, it says 4-time All-Star, 2-time champion, 2 times finals MVP, and 2 times defensive player of the year. And this is interesting because this is actually like, it moves and you see the stitching on it as well. So I think that's really cool and interesting in terms of the design. And something that I mentioned before was that Kawhi really wanted to be part of this design process. So he wanted something to kind of incorporate his signature cornrows, because he's definitely known to have those ever since he entered the league. So if you actually look over here, this part, like this braided part, that's actually for his cornrows. So that's a nice personal touch. And once again, you probably just missed it, right, if you just take a first glance at it, but there's so much cool things going on. And I actually do want to talk about the inside as well, like the Achilles section. This kind of support is nice. It's ribbed, it's really strong and firm, and I think that's something that's going to help with the lockdown. And of course, you know, you do see the Kawhi signature at the back, so I think that's a really nice touch. And of course, this is a Jolly Rancher collaboration, so in the insole sock liner, you actually do see the Jolly Rancher branding once again. So I think these are super clean, and honestly something that I'm really happy to have in my collection. You know, as a Toronto Raptors fan, you probably may have seen the prior videos. You can check it out if you haven't, but that whole last season was amazing when the Raptors won. And Kawhi, even though he was only here for 1 year, it was probably the best one-year deal, one-year player that we ever had. So I think that's really interesting. I wouldn't say he's the greatest Raptor to ever live, but he's definitely in my top 5. but nonetheless, I think it was so cool just to see that from, you know, see him play like just like in the regular games and in the NBA game, and then seeing him at the parade. It was super cool, and I was just really happy that, you know, that happened. And it also really was beneficial for him too, because I think that is a big part of why he does have a signature sneaker today. Something I also want to discuss is actually the release itself. So these released on October 31st, Halloween. Obviously trick-or-treating candy, it made sense for the release, Kawhi's favorite candy. But I think what was interesting to me and surprising to me was that these were actually pretty easy to cop. I actually didn't go online, have like different tabs ready at 10 o'clock. I was actually kind of debating on it, thinking about like, should I get it or should I wait for the blue colorway? But I actually copped these probably like a couple of hours after the release, and then they were actually still available. So this is surprising for me, because a lot of the Kawhi sneakers, they're usually sold out instantly, especially like the 4 bounces. That was insane, and I think maybe New Balance got some slack for it, because honestly I was pretty upset with it, because I didn't like the fact that, you know, when they did that, they did the first Omnis colorway, like it just sold out immediately before anyone can really cop, especially, you know, the Toronto fans, where that was such a big moment in history. So for us, that was kind of disappointing. So I was actually happy that this was released. And of course, I mentioned the blue colorway is there as well, and then you also have 2, you know, general release colorways that are also pretty widely available. That's in black and white. So if you are interested in that, definitely cop it, and I would definitely recommend this as well, because I think this is the best time to cop. You never know if they're gonna do a hyper strike again and make it super limited, and that really sucks, because anyone who wants a sneaker should be able to get it. And this retailed, I believe, for $209.99 on the New Balance site, and these were also available on Foot Locker and a couple boutiques. But for me, I really like these, and this was an automatic cop. They came in because Halloween was a Saturday, they came in on a Tuesday, so really no delay in that. So in terms of sizing, I actually did go true to size. What I would say is that, like, maybe just keep it with true to size if you really can. Obviously, I think at this point, most sizes have sold out. I don't think the resale will really be that high, so I'm not too sure about that once again. But I think that you will be able to score a good deal for these, and these are really interesting. When I actually get to hoop on these, get that opportunity, it might be a bit different, because that's going to be a true test of how much tech is actually in this one sneaker. So for me, go true to size. That's what I would recommend overall in terms of lifestyle, which I'm kind of just doing that for now. For this particular sneaker, I think this is solid. This is a great sneaker by New Balance, and I think this is something that's really going to help New Balance in the long run, especially when it comes to basketball sneakers. Even if it doesn't sell out immediately, I think this is so important for basketball technology and kind of taking that next step. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you skip on these? Did you know that these existed? What do you think about the collaboration itself? What do you think about Kawhi? I want to know what you guys think in the comments below, and of course on the comments on the blog post. So please make sure you do check out that, and if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. It actually does help reaching more new people and actually having them be more educated about what's going on in terms of sneakers, as well as other stuff that I put out. Of course, your support does mean a lot. I do appreciate it, and it does go a long way. Until the next video, peace.